Hi everybody, welcome to Module 1 for Professional Issues and Ethics. I think that you've all met me by now, but just in case, I'm Dr. Larson and I'll be your professor for this semester. I wanted to start out just by going over a few housekeeping type of things. I've gotten a number of questions from you about the course and about the reading materials, so I just thought I'd review a few of those things before we start with the lecture. First, I've had a lot of people asking questions about the weekly writing assignments and comments, and I just want to encourage you. I know that it's a long syllabus, but I want to encourage you to read the whole syllabus because it's really your roadmap to this course, and it'll provide the details and grading criteria for those assignments that you'll need to complete them. And my goal with those is to kind of mimic what an in-class participation would look like. So it'll give you a chance to take a position on a particular ethical issue that you're interested in and then comment upon your classmates' similar postings. So the first one of those will be due on Thursday. You'll have to write your position paper by Thursday, and then I'll expect you to have commented on 2 of your classmates' postings by Saturday. And we'll have one of those each week, and I'm hoping you'll use that as a chance to go further in depth into the material that we'll cover in lecture and through the readings. In addition to the position papers that you'll be writing, you'll also be expected to do a presentation at the end of the semester during our in-person meetings. And again, I'm hoping you'll pick a topic that's kind of controversial and that'll generate some in-class discussion. During our weekend meeting, you'll also have a final exam that'll be open book. It'll consist of multiple choice questions as well as essay questions. And I'd just like to also talk a little bit about what my thoughts are about the goals for this course and what I'd like to see you get out of it. I do want you to learn the ethical code. So the ACA code is the code we'll primarily cover in this class. And then I also plan to address anytime there are differences between the codes, and in particular between the ACA code and the APA code. I'll also expect you to know the applicable laws for ethics in the state of Massachusetts, and then through this course you'll also learn how to look up those laws yourself. So initially I'll be providing them for you, but through the class I'll expect you to learn about the law and how to find the law, because laws do change, or you may move to another state and you'll need to find that information on your own. You'll also be expected to search the literature for guidance and recent discussions and arguments on various ethical issues. But most importantly, what I'm hoping you'll take away from this is a problem-solving model. And by that I mean I want you to think critically, analyze, and struggle with the ethical issues and come up with a personal ethical stance on most of the issues. I think that this will be of most benefit to you in your future careers, rather than simply memorizing the ethical code, which is also likely to change. You have to learn how to look up the law, look up the applicable code, and how to use them or apply them. So this week's materials, you're going to see several themes. The first is it'll introduce the ethical codes and a little bit of the theoretical underpinnings for those codes and how they're organized. The materials also introduce a number of decision-making frameworks, so decision-making models that you can use in examining ethical problems. And you'll see a lot of similarities and differences between the way these are structured, but the goal is to provide a framework as a way for you to examine these problems and again to develop your own personal ethical stance. And through the position papers, I'm hoping that you'll be able to apply this framework to make your reasoning and rationales explicit and to be able to consult the available sources and codes and show us how you're applying them. And this week's materials in particular will require a lot of self-awareness and self-reflection. And I mean that in 2 ways. The first is that I'm going to ask you to take a close look at your values and belief systems and to consider how those values and beliefs, especially your more strongly held values and beliefs, could possibly impact a therapeutic situation. It's good to think ahead of time what types of issues are kind of hot button issues for you that could impact therapy, and what you might do if you encountered a client who held the opposite set of beliefs or values from your own. In this way, you can examine the filter that you see the world through and anticipate any problems that could eventually arise. The second way I'll be asking you to do some self-reflection is to look at an evaluation of your self-care. So what are the things that you do to take care of yourself? As a therapist, we tend to put others before ourselves. And what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at things like your work-life balance, because you have an ethical and professional duty to ensure that you're taking care of yourself and avoiding burnout as a therapist. Because if you get to the point where you're burned out, you're not very effective in helping your clients. And the final thing that I just wanted to point out to you is that in the written lecture this week, you'll also come across some questions that I've embedded. Some people were saying that they were struggling with trying to figure out what kinds of questions would be appropriate to address. And I really want you to write about what you're most interested in and use the criteria that I've written in the syllabus. So by no means do you have to use the questions that I've written into the lecture this week. But as some people wanted guidance, I put in a few questions. But you can take one of the hypotheticals in the book, something from the news, or anything that relates to the materials that we've covered that week that you'd like to discuss more in depth. So good luck, and email me if you have any questions. Thanks.